In this module, we'll explore study options outside the United States. The world is full of excellent universities, and many Sri Lankan students find great opportunities in the UK, Canada, Australia, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Each of these destinations has its own application systems, timelines, and scholarship opportunities. We'll highlight what you need to know for each region. By the end, you should have a sense of which non-US universities might suit you and be ready to shortlist some to explore further. The United Kingdom. The UK is a favorite destination for many Sri Lankan students, thanks to its world-renowned universities such as Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, LSE, etc., and one-year master's programs for future reference. For undergraduate applications, the process is centralized through UCAS, or the Universities and Colleges Admissions Service. You fill one UCAS application online and can apply to up to 5 courses or universities. The UCAS form includes your personal details, academic qualifications, a personal statement, and a reference letter. There's a single application deadline for most courses, January 15th for admission in the same year. For example, 15 January 2025 for fall 2025 entry. Some special cases have earlier deadlines, notably Oxbridge, Oxford, and Cambridge, as well as medicine, dentistry, veterinary science courses have a deadline around October 15th of the preceding year. Your personal statement is a crucial part of the UK application. It's a 4,000-character essay in which you explain why you want to study the course you're applying for and how your background has prepared you for it. Unlike American essays, the UCAS personal statement is more academic or professional in tone. You need to demonstrate enthusiasm and aptitude for the subject. If you're applying for multiple universities in the same subject, which is typical since one statement goes to all choices, you keep the focus general on that field. For example, a student applying for mechanical engineering would write about what attracts them to engineering, any projects or reading they've done in the area, and relevant achievements like math contest awards, robotics club, etc. Admissions tutors in the UK place heavy weight on this statement to gauge your motivation and fit. UK applications also heavily emphasize grades. You will need to provide your current or predicted A-level results and your final O-level or IGCSE results. Each course will list typical grade requirements, for example, AAB, including mathematics for a certain engineering program. If your school is not familiar with UCAS, you might need to guide your teachers in submitting a reference and predicted grades. Usually, the school principal or a teacher writes one reference covering your academic strengths and suitability for the course. For Oxford and Cambridge specifically, you can only apply to one of them in a given year, not both. The process has additional steps. Oxbridge applications due in October often require you to sit admissions tests in November, like the TSA for PPE at Oxford or NSAA for Natural Sciences at Cambridge. And if shortlisted, you'll have interviews in December. The interviews are academic conversations, essentially oral exams where professors ask you subject-related questions to assess your thinking. Oxbridge also places a higher importance on your personal statement and reference, as well as any submitted written work. It's a very academically competitive process, so if you aim for Oxbridge, prepare well in advance. Practice past admission test papers, etc. The acceptance rates for Oxford or Cambridge are low, under 20%, even lower for some courses. But strong applicants from Sri Lanka do get in every year. Canada offers excellent universities and is known for being relatively welcoming to international students. There is no single application system for all of Canada. You usually apply directly to each university, often through their website. An exception is the Ontario province, which has the OUAC, the Ontario Universities Application Centre, portal for its universities, like Toronto, Waterloo, Western, York, etc. But even through OUAC, you are essentially sending separate apps to each an Ontario university, and you pay per university. Admission in Canada tends to be primarily grades-based. Canadian universities will look at your A-level results or equivalent. They often have specific requirements like at least 3 A-level subjects, or they may consider Sri Lankan A-levels if available. Each program will specify prerequisite subjects. For instance, an engineering program may require math, physics, chemistry at A-level. A commerce program may require math, but not physics or chem. If you have London A-levels or IB, you're generally eligible directly. If you follow the local Sri Lankan A-level curriculum, you may need very strong results since they'll be equated to the Canadian standards. Sometimes universities might ask for an official credential evaluation, but many are familiar with Sri Lankan exams. The application forms will have you list your courses and grades, and your school may need to send transcripts. Some Canadian universities, like University of Toronto, UBC, McGill, also allow you to submit optional reference letters or personal profiles, especially if you're applying for scholarships, but it's not as universal as in the US. One attractive aspect of Canadian universities is the availability of major scholarships for international students. For example, the Lester B. Pearson International Scholarship at the University of Toronto is a prestigious award that covers full tuition, books, and residence for 4 years. It's highly competitive and requires school nomination. The University of British Columbia has the Karen McKellen International Leader of Tomorrow Award, which can cover a significant portion of costs based on need. Many schools like McGill, York, Carleton, University of Alberta, etc., have entrance scholarships, some automatic based on grades, others requiring separate application. Make sure to check each university's scholarship page. Some deadlines for scholarship consideration can be earlier than the normal application. Generally, to maximize your chances, aim to apply by December or early January for fall-autumn admission and submit any supplementary scholarship forms. Timeline-wise, Canadian universities often have deadlines from January to March for a September or fall intake. Offers can roll out in spring. If you're a top student, you might get an early admission, conditional on your final results. Once you finish your A-levels, you send the final scores and the admission becomes unconditional if you met the requirements. Australia's universities are known for strong programs in areas like engineering, medicine, business, etc., and their degrees are recognized worldwide. The Australian admission system does not use a single nationwide portal for all universities. Students usually apply to each university or sometimes through state-based systems. For example, universities in New South Wales use the UAC or University Admissions Centre, and in Victoria use VTAC for local students. But international students can often apply directly or via agents. A key term you'll encounter is ATAR, or the Australian Tertiary Admission Rank. This is a percentile rank from 0 to 99.95 given to Australian high school graduates. International students won't have an ATAR, but Australian universities will convert your qualifications into an ATAR equivalent. Essentially, they have entry cutoffs in terms of ATAR for each course, and they will accept foreign grades that meet those standards. For example, if a course needs an ATAR of 90, they might expect something like 2 or 3 A grades at A-level or a certain IB score. Entry is mostly cutoff based. Meet the criteria and you get in, especially for coursework-based degrees. Some competitive courses like medicine or law might have interviews or additional tests like ISAT or UMAT. The academic year in Australia typically starts in February or March, since seasons are opposite to the Northern Hemisphere. So you would be applying in the year before your intake. For instance, apply around August to November 2024 to start in February of 2025. Some universities also have a mid-year intake, starting in July, for certain programs. Check application deadlines carefully, as they can vary by institution and course. Australia offers various scholarships, though for undergraduates, these are often limited or partial for international students. Many universities have merit scholarships that might reduce tuition by 10 to 25%. If you're a top student, also look for any university-specific flagship scholarships. For example, University of Melbourne's International Undergraduate Scholarship or ANU's International Excellence Scholarship. One notable feature of the Australian system is the use of foundation or pathway programs. If your qualification is not considered equivalent to Australian Year 12, you might take a one-year foundation program, for example, after O-levels or if A-level scores don't meet direct entry, which then guarantees entry to certain universities upon successful completion. However, if you have completed Sri Lankan A-levels or London A-levels, you likely qualify for a direct entry into most Australian undergrad programs. Europe is incredibly diverse in its university systems. Many countries have public universities that offer low-cost or free tuition, even to international students, especially if programs are in the local language. Increasingly, there are also English-taught programs across Europe for international students, particularly in Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy, and the Nordic countries. Germany. German public universities famously charge little to no tuition, just a few €100 semester fee for most courses. To attend a German university, you need to have a qualification equivalent to the German Abitur. Certain foreign high school credentials are considered direct equivalents, others are not. For Sri Lankan A-levels, you may need to check DAD or Anabin databases. Sometimes 3 good A-level passes can satisfy the requirement, but if not, students might go through Studienkolleg, a one-year preparatory program, and pass an assessment exam to qualify for university. If you plan to study in German, proficiency, often test staff or Goethe-Certifikat, will be needed. However, there are also English-taught undergraduate courses, more at the master's level than bachelor's, but some bachelors in the fields of engineering or social sciences are in English. Applications to German universities usually go via UniAssist, a central service that validates foreign documents for many, but not all, universities. Deadlines are often mid-July for winter semester to start in October, or mid-Jan for summer semester to start in April. Studying in Germany also requires a visa where you prove financial resources or living expenses, but no hefty tuition. You typically need about €10,000 in a blocked bank account. The Netherlands. The Netherlands is very popular for its English-taught programs. Dutch research universities and universities of applied sciences offer many bachelor's degrees in English. Applications are submitted through a centralized system called StudiLink, and then you often have to follow up with specific documents via the university's portal. Some programs called numerus fixus, like medicine or psychology at some universities, have limited seats and may have earlier deadlines, such as the 15th of January, and selection procedures. Other programs typically have deadlines around the 1st of May for non-EU international students. Entry requirements usually include having completed a high school qualification that would admit you to universities in your home country. A-levels qualify. They may ask for certain subjects. For example, for a business program, they might want you to have passed maths. The Netherlands does charge tuition. For non-EU students, it's higher, typically around 6,000 to 15,000 euros per year. Scholarships like the Holland Scholarship or specific university scholarships can help. Importantly, living in the Netherlands means you must get a residence permit, but the university assists with that process after admissions. Public universities in France have very low tuition, a few €100, but most undergraduate programs are in French. If you are fluent in French or have time to learn, this could be an opportunity. Admission to public universities is often open. If you have the equivalent of the French baccalaureate, you can enroll. But some programs like Engineering Grande École or certain selective universities have competitive exams or selections. There is an online system called Etudes en France through Campus France, which often coordinates applications for international students. You create a profile and can apply to multiple institutions via that portal. There are also a growing number of English medium programs, especially at specialized institutions or business schools, but those tend to charge higher tuition. France also offers the Eiffel Scholarship for international students, though that's mostly for master's or PhD students. If you aim for France, start French language classes early, as it will vastly improve both your academic and daily life experience there. Elsewhere in Europe, each country has its own system. Italy offers some programs in English, especially in medicine through the IMAT exam, or some polytechnic institutes offering engineering in English. Ireland, English-speaking, part of EU, has a system similar to the UK's, but separate. You apply to each Irish university individually. Spain and Portugal mostly teach in their languages at undergrad, but a few English options exist. Eastern European countries such as Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, etc., often welcome international students with programs in English, and costs are lower. For example, many Sri Lankan students go to Eastern Europe for medicine or dentistry due to less competitive entry. You would usually apply directly to those universities and might have to take an entrance exam. The bottom line for Europe is research the specific country's requirements. The application timeline can be different. Some begin admissions in early spring or for fall intake. Always verify if you need a pre-evaluation of credentials or to pass any language tests. Keep in mind visa or residence permit requirements. In many European countries, you'll need to show financial proof or deposit money into a blocked account. Germany does this to get your student visa. Finally, opportunities in Asia and the Middle East are worth considering. Countries in this region are home to top universities and often have scholarship schemes for international students. Japan has a mix of public and private universities that accept international students. The Japanese government's prestigious MEXT scholarship offers full funding for foreign students, including Sri Lankans, to do undergraduate degrees in Japan. If you get the MEXT undergrad scholarship, you typically do a year of Japanese language training and then enter a Japanese taught program in your chosen field, though some MEXT scholars enroll directly into English medium programs if available. Aside from MEXT, there are increasing numbers of English taught programs at top Japanese universities. For example, University of Tokyo, the PEAK program, Kyoto IUP, Waseda University's SILS, ICU in Tokyo, etc. These programs often allow you to apply in English, and you may not need Japanese language, though it's recommended to learn it. Admission can be competitive and might require SAT scores or their own exams, plus essays and interviews. Timeline is varied. Some universities have intakes in April, aligning with the Japanese school year, and/or September. Ensure you check the specific application windows. China's top universities like Tsinghua, Peking, and Fudan are among Asia's best. There are many programs in English now, and the Chinese government and provincial governments offer scholarships. The Chinese Government Scholarship, or CSC, can provide full tuition, accommodation, and a stipend. Sri Lankan students can apply for these through the Chinese embassy or directly to universities. The Ministry of Higher Education in Sri Lanka often nominates candidates for CSC awards. If you study in Chinese, you'd need to pass an HSK language test. But there are also English medium MBBS programs and others designed for foreigners. Applications are usually due by around March or April for September intake. Be prepared that even if the course is in English, living in China will require some basic Mandarin for day-to-day life. Many students find this an exciting opportunity to become bilingual. Hong Kong and Singapore host globally granted universities. Hong Kong's universities, such as HKU, HKUST, and CUHK, teach in English and have application processes similar to the UK or the US, including personal statements, sometimes SAT or ACT scores accepted, etc. They also have scholarships specifically for South Asian or international students. Singapore's NUS, NTU, and SMU are highly competitive. They evaluate students on grades, personal achievements, and may require an interview. Singapore offers some scholarships to internationals, but note that taking a Singapore government tuition grant means signing a bond to work in Singapore for 3 years after graduation. This is common for all foreign students at NUS or NTU who take the subsidized tuition. The Gulf region has been investing heavily in education. The UAE, for example, has branches of international universities, such as NYUAD, for example, which offers a US-style liberal arts education with full scholarships to many students, including many South Asians, and is highly selective. There are also local universities like Khalifa University or UAE universities that have scholarships for international students. Qatar's Education City hosts branches of Cornell, Carnegie Mellon, Georgetown, etc., also often with scholarships or need-based aid akin to their US campuses. If you receive an offer from these branch campuses, they usually come with generous funding if you're admitted. NYU Abu Dhabi, for example, is need-blind and covers full demonstrated need. Japan, China, UAE, etc. often market themselves and might have cultural adjustment, but also strong support systems for foreign students. In summary, Asia and the Middle East offer a variety of options, from traditional and culturally immersive experiences in Japan or China, possibly funded by government scholarships, to international-style programs in English in hubs like Hong Kong, Singapore, or Dubai. When exploring these, consider language requirements, the entrance exams needed, and the career opportunities in that region. For instance, a degree from NUS Singapore could open doors in the Asia-Pacific job market. A degree from a Chinese university coupled with Mandarin skills could be valuable given China's global influence. As always, research each option thoroughly and note that application procedures can differ markedly. Japan might require you to apply through the embassy for a scholarship, whereas Singapore expects an online application with essays by their deadline, often in December or January for Singaporean universities. Each country and university beyond Sri Lanka has its own nuances, but countless Sri Lankan students have successfully navigated them. By planning ahead and leveraging available resources, you can too. Now, with a broad view of where you could go, let's delve into the country that attracts the largest number of Sri Lankan applicants, the United States. Now that we've toured the globe, it's time for some action on your part. Firstly, make a short list of non-US universities or countries that interest you. Think about the fields you want and match them with countries known for these fields. For example, if you want aerospace, maybe the UK and Russia are interesting. If you want hospitality, maybe consider Hong Kong or Switzerland, etc. Pick at least 2 to 3 countries and 5 to 10 universities in each to research further. For each, note one key factor. It could be free tuition in Germany, or MEX scholarship in Japan, or English campus in Dubai with full aid. Thirdly, check the basic requirements for those options. Do you meet the expected grades? Will you need to start learning a language or prepping for a specific exam? Jot that down. And lastly, add these to your master spreadsheet or list. This will help when you compare all your options, US and non-US, later on. The goal here isn't to finalize where you'll apply, but to ensure you're aware of the rich opportunities outside the US. You might find that a non-US option is actually your top choice, or at least a great backup that you'd be happy to attend. And when it comes to scholarships, sometimes looking outside the usual destinations can increase your chances for a full ride. So, take some time now to reflect. Did any country or program spark your interest? Maybe you imagined yourself biking across a Dutch campus, or mastering Japanese in Tokyo, or enjoying campus in life in Toronto or Melbourne. If yes, follow that curiosity. Go to those university websites, read about their international student experiences, and see if it aligns with your goals. By broadening your horizons, you increase the odds of landing a scholarship and getting an education that fits you. So cast that net wide. Next, in Module 4, we'll turn our focus to the US, why the US is such a popular destination, and how its admission system works. Exciting stuff ahead.